Welcome to America Uncanceled. Ohio Congressman Tim Ryan is leaving Congress and attempting to bring his left-wing agenda to the Senate, which leaves a House seat open. Well, our friend Madison Jeziato Gilbert, former Miss Ohio, former Trump surrogate, also CPAC endorsed, is the Republican nominee for Tim Ryan's open seat. Madison's running against a radical Democrat who is supported by anti-police groups. The House majority, well, it runs through places such as Ohio's 13th congressional district, which includes Akron and Canton. It's places like Akron that have been decimated by the swamp's globalist agenda. Remember, Matt, when President Obama said some jobs just aren't going to come back. Well, Republicans like President Trump proved that we can bring manufacturing jobs to states like Ohio. And that's why Madison wants to make sure that she's fighting for the American worker. And she joins us now. Madison, thanks for joining us. I know you're so busy on your campaign trail right now.
So good to be with both of you. Super excited. We are out here every single day working extremely hard, making sure we meet every voter we can in the district and spread the message about what we want to do that's better than what Tim Ryan has done and what former people have done in this area. When it comes to representing this district, fighting for the people of Ohio's 13th and being a voice for the needs that we simply just have not had met in Washington for us.
Madison, there's all this talk about, is it coming down to the economy, or is it going to be about these woke issues like defunding the cops and an open border? What do you find, what are the issues that your voters care the most about?
Yeah, despite what the mainstream media and so many others would like for people to believe, I'm out on the trail every single day. I'm talking to voters every single day. People are extremely upset about inflation. They're really upset about the cost of everything from groceries to gas. That's what people are talking about. It doesn't matter, honestly, sometimes even whether they're a Democrat or Republican, someone who's voted every cycle their whole lives or have never voted before. They just feel let down. And it's a lot of, honestly, what ultimately led to President Trump's big victory in 2016 is the fact that no matter which side of the aisle you're on, you just feel in a region like the Midwest, where I'm from, that you've been forgotten by the career politicians who have sometimes been in Congress for years and years, and they don't really do anything for you. They don't listen. They're not receptive. And the problems simply go unsolved. And that's why we continue to see these high inflation numbers. I meet people that are being forced to make decisions they didn't have to make 3 years ago when we had a great economy. Right. Now, of course, like I said, making those decisions like, do I buy this orange juice for my kids or do I go and get gas? Really, really frustrating to see what's going on. Of course, as you mentioned, Mercedes, we've had a downtick in manufacturing, which used to be the largest sector of employment in our district. Now it's the second industry in our district, but people around here would love to see a lot of those manufacturing jobs come back to the United States, which I think is very possible. And it all goes back, of course, to making sure that we have that prosperous economy and we have people investing in these communities and in this state.
And we're not dependent on China, which is, I think, one of the biggest problems that we're having here in the United States as well, is this dependency on China, this dependency on other countries when it comes to our energy supplies. Apparently, Madison, in California, and Pete Buttigieg, he made a very interesting comment, which I want to play for you right now to get your reaction.
We need to move in the direction of electric vehicles. And look, industry's already there. At least one major automaker says they're not even planning to make gas cars past 2035. But we've got to make sure that this happens quickly enough to help us beat climate change. We've got to make sure it happens affordably enough that it's not just wealthy people, but low-income people who are the ones who most need those gas savings if they can afford the EVs.
So literally Pete Buttigieg, Secretary of Transportation, saying that, you know, California, well, yeah, it's an interesting proposal to move towards electric vehicles. And then on top of that, he's saying, yeah, we need to move as quickly as possible to adopt electric vehicles. But Madison, the reality is we're not quite there. I don't understand, why can't we coexist when it comes to electric vehicles and gasoline cars?
Yeah, we're simply not there at all. Like I said, we're talking to so many people that are making very difficult decisions right now and can't even afford to buy groceries or gas. They have absolutely no ability to go out and just buy an electric vehicle anytime soon. And when you look at what's going on in Washington with over $3.5 trillion in spending just since Biden took office, they're continuing to spend money we don't have on the federal level, which is really what led us to that over $30 trillion of national debt. And as you know, I mean, as far back as 2015 in the Washington Times, I was writing about when we surpassed $13 trillion of national debt and the crisis that would bring for our country. So it's very concerning to see their continued willingness to spend with really no plan. And they're completely out of touch when it comes to what people can afford, because we all know that as much as they're spending, they're not buying everybody electric vehicles. Yeah. So to put this burden on people who can't even afford gas and say that the solution is now an electric vehicle is just really comical.
It's electric vehicle subsidy, and then on top of that, they're going to forgive your student loan. I mean, it is like one handout after the other. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, Madison, the other thing we're reading about constantly is that the air is out of the Republican balloon, that Trump is on the decline, Republicans are on the decline. These issues are not as popular as abortion through 9 months and other questions. When you win this race, and we're confident you're going to win this race, and the CPAC community is going to be behind you 100%, what's the thing that turns the race for Republicans like you in November?
Well, I think the thing that turns it in a district like mine, and we are the most competitive district here in Ohio, we're one of those top tier races to take back the House. I've outlined a host of issues on my website, madisonforcongress.com, talking about what we're going to do. And those issues that I outlined are really going to be what makes the difference. We're coming in with a plan. We're not just complaining about the other side. We're saying, here's what they're doing wrong. Here's what we can do to fix it. We want to be part of the solution. We don't want to just talk. We want to be about action. We want to be about legislation. We want to be about making a positive impact in the lives of people here in my district, across my state, and really, quite frankly, across the country. We need more members of Congress on both sides of the aisle that have that mindset, that don't view this as a career. For example, my opponent has been in the state legislature between her and her parents. They've had the seat for over 40 years. Career politicians, it's not what we need more of. We need people who are business owners. We need people who come from a multitude of backgrounds that know what it's like, that relate to what people are going through when it comes to small businesses like my own that have struggled the past couple of years, as well as just your everyday American, what they're going through. And we want to be a part of that solution to fix it through legislation and through actionable items.
Well, no question that Republicans need to win the majority. I mean, it is just the most common sense solutions that we need to implement to stop this radicalized agenda of, climate change being their religion, their just absolute obsession with the issue of abortion, which is, now being decided by the, different states. You bring up a great tweet here. We'll put it up here on the screen. Despite crime skyrocketing across the country and here in Akron, career politicians in Columbus supported legislation to release dangerous criminals back into our communities. Ohioans deserve a congresswoman who will back the blue and help keep us safe. Walk us through what happened with that legislation.
Oh, it's just absolutely unbelievable. And we're seeing it not only here in Ohio, but we're seeing it across the country. When you look at the people who support so many radical bail reform movements, they support just letting people back onto the streets. And you see time and time again, these people get let out, they commit another crime, their crimes escalate in a lot of situations, and people are not safe as a result of that. You look at Akron, which is the largest city here in my district, and you see the violent homicide rate absolutely through the roof. Before COVID happened, was only in 2019, 33 homicides that year, I think 32 the year before. The year of COVID in 2020, there was 50. It was an all-time high for us. And now this year, just halfway through the year, at the end of July, we were over 32, I think, at that time. Right. And so we're or over 30, we're on track to have another record-breaking year when it comes to violent homicides. So much more needs to be done. And of course, the defund the police narrative that so many Democrats have pushing people to not trust in the police, creating division, trying to divide us on not only gender but also on race. We've seen a lot of that, and that is just no good for our communities.
That's right.
We deserve better, and we need people who are going to support our police officers. One bad apple does not represent the majority of people, and the majority of our police officers are amazing and go out every day risking their own lives and whether they'll ever see their families again to make sure our communities are safe. People deserve safe communities. They deserve affordable cost of living, and they simply deserve better than what they've been getting.
And don't your voters see the hypocrisy of that, the war on police, trying to make it seem like cops are bad when they're actually the ones who keep us safe? And then you have all these hypocrites, including your own Ohio delegation, who rail against the police, but for themselves personally, they hire personal security guards. They ask a lot of the local police force. Don't you think voters have had enough of this hypocrisy? Yeah,
I think it's one example of the many that people are starting to open their eyes to for the very first time. It's a shame it took this long, but people are seeing that hypocrisy among some of the top leaders and sometimes even in both parties that say, hey, this is what's good for you, but I'm going to get something better. We saw it even with Obamacare when that was passed, and then Congress had a different, healthcare plan. And so with the defund the police specifically, it's always easy to say we should defund the police when you're someone who's going to hire your own private security anyways. It's easy to say let's take away your Second Amendment rights when those people are going to be protected, by people who have guns. And your average American has to protect themselves, their families, and their communities. And so we obviously are huge supporters of making sure we back the blue as well as support our Second Amendment and stand up in any way needed to make sure people can have that right protected, to protect themselves, to protect their family, and to protect their communities.
So I read this article, and of course, I kind of had to laugh a little bit because it's only women, sorry, honey, that we get pointed out in these articles where it talks about you saying, Madison Desiato Gilbert talks campaigning while pregnant, which is good to know because, the Democrats think men can get pregnant, which is just amazing. And then pro-life position. You wouldn't want to see Matt Schlapp pregnant. That would be like a disaster.
I'd be in a bad mood, I'll tell you that
no
much.
way. You guys can't handle it. You guys
God knew what he was doing, okay?
Exactly. And the student loan handout, of course, they would never talk about a guy. Now that they say that the men are pregnant, it's just absolutely outrageous. But, you really are amazing, Madison. Not only are you like a happy warrior, very focused with the agenda, but it's, it's grueling campaign hours. What made you decide, okay, it's my time to run. It's my time to be part of this fight? I mean, you've been part of the fight for a very long time, but really then moving into this position of saying, okay, I'm going to run for Congress.
Yeah, so it was definitely a difficult decision. I never imagined being on this side of the equation. I've been on the other side. I've knocked the doors. I've made the phone calls. I've donated my money. I've worked very hard to push the agenda, to push the cause, to help people get elected. But quite frankly, just felt disappointed, even with some people on our side of the aisle. They promise us the world, and they don't do what they say they're going to do. They don't pass the legislation, and we suffer as a result. Instead of sitting around complaining about it, I wanted to be a part of the solution. Obviously, we ended up finding out I was pregnant after I was already in the race, and so it's been a whirlwind of an experience. But hey, I can assure you at 9 months pregnant that men cannot do what I'm doing right now. Men cannot get pregnant. And we've just been super blessed that I've had such a healthy pregnancy and have been able to campaign as hard as we have been all the way up until these very last, days, maybe weeks, days. We're not sure when he's coming, but it's going to be soon. So we're super excited. And
he's an election baby. I mean, it's so exciting. It's an election baby. I mean, I remember, I think it was at the RNC. It was back in 2004. And I was literally at the convention, super duper pregnant, working the convention. And, I find that when you're able to teach your young kids early on the importance of why you have to stay involved politically and really make sure the bad leaders don't take charge, I think it's such a valuable lesson for the kids.
Oh, 100%, 100%. We're looking forward to teaching Marcus Jr. all about it and hopefully having him be politically active and interested as a young person in the future. So we're looking forward to meeting him soon and having him be involved, and hopefully the next generation in general just being more, not only involved, but more educated on what's going on so that they can go out and vote on the right type of issues and people.
Madison, when Marcus is there being a congressional spouse, tell him to give me a call. We can probably find much more productive ways to use his time.
And we have babysitters. So if you bring your baby down, we have plenty of babysitters who can help out. I do want to address one quick issue that we didn't talk about, but it's this border security issue, because apparently Kamala Harris, she made this very interesting comment. Let's take a listen.
We have 2 million people cross this border for the first time ever. You're confident this border is secure?
We have a secure border in that is a priority for any nation, including ours and our administration. But there are still a lot of problems that we are trying to fix, given the deterioration that happened over the last 4 years. We also have to put in place a law and a plan for a pathway for citizenship.
So, Madison, this is breaking news. Apparently the border is secure, but at the same time, Kamala Harris is saying we have so many illegal people here, we have to immediately pass a pathway to citizenship. This is insanity.
Just absolutely unbelievable from our lovely border czar. The border is clearly not secure. It's not even about who's coming over the border as much as it's about what's coming over the border. Ohio led for many years in the drug crisis and opioid epidemic statistics as one of those top states. We saw incredible progress in 2017, 2018, 2019, only for things to turn around. The past 2 years, we've seen 140% increase in drug overdose deaths in Akron. It's completely unacceptable what's happening here and across the country. We have to secure the border first and foremost, as we see fentanyl continue to pour in over that southern border in incredible, immense amounts, coming from China, coming from other places. And of course, we see people even on the terror watch list coming over, which puts our communities at risk. So for so many reasons, we have to secure the border and then, of course, deal with some of the immigration issues after that. But the first step is securing that border.
Well, you are fiery, you are strong, you are exactly the type of leader we need in Congress right now. So thank you for making the sacrifice and deciding to run. And secondly, you have our full support. I very much feel like a proud, older sister, of watching Madison all grow up now, because I've known you for so long. And you really, you're exactly the type of leaders we need right now in Congress to push back against this leftist agenda. So thank you, Madison Desiato Gilbert, for joining us. You'll be in our prayers.
Thank you.
Again, whatever, we're always here to support what you're doing. And thanks again.
Thank you. We love and appreciate you guys, and thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Madison. And we're going to be back with you again tomorrow
Yeah.
for America Uncanceled. Thanks for tuning in.